Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your weekly instalment of the Gersnet Podcast. It's the 16th of February 2024. My name's Craig Gray, hosting. We were here to talk about all things Rangers. This is the independent Rangers podcast made for fans, by fans, and all of our content is free. You can get us over on Twitter at Gersnet Online, and you can get the forum over at gersnet.co.uk. Just before I bring in my guest today, I need to mention our sponsors, who are Forrest Precision Engineering. They are a subcontract Glasgow-based engineering company, and they've been a big commercial supporter of Rangers for many years, and we're absolutely delighted that they're back in your pod. You can get them over at forestprecisioneng.com. And you can also visit the Forrest Precision Executive Lounge. It's a stunning new hospitality area within the historic main stand. For information on how to book this unique and intimate space, you can email the club via hospitality@rangers.co.uk. So, nice wee start there. Need to introduce my guest now, Mr. John McCallum, doing the Gersnet family proud, stepping in for our guests who can't be here tonight. It's a good work ethic that both of us have got on a Friday night, isn't it?
This is either that or we've got no mates. I can't decide which. Certainly in my case, no mates and no social life. So what would I rather do on a Friday night but sit and talk about football? And nothing makes me happier.
Exactly, and especially when Rangers are doing well. That's what we were saying just off earlier. It makes it a whole lot easier. Obviously, we had the game on Wednesday night, John against Ross County. I think how it went depends on who you spoke to. It seems like half of the fans were delighted that we got the 3 points, and other half were gutted that we never got the goals that we needed to go top of the league. I think I fall into the sort of former camp. It was a frustrating night, I think. Not disappointing, because, we won the game, but I think frustrating, obviously. For me, I think it was probably the best performance of the season. If you look at a whole game, I think Dundee away probably was the standout, certainly under Clement. But Wednesday night was just constant pressure, and I really feel that this Rangers team is going to give someone a doing, to be quite honest, in the next few weeks, the way that it's going. But, it was just one of the games where we couldn't put the ball in it enough times to get us top, but we done it enough to win the game. I suppose that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point you make. Was it our best performance? I'm not sure. Hibs away actually was a pretty decent performance. Hibs away is probably a harder game than Ross County at home, but you can't complain about the performance. It was relentless. We kept coming wave after wave after wave. If you're going to nitpick, the goal we conceded was soft. To concede a goal from that position, Brophy was out at the corner flag, he was going nowhere. He shouldn't have been able to get the cross in. And then the goal scorer, I forget the goal scorer's name, but the goal scorer, Murray, I think it was, the space he got to put it away was disappointing. But I am nitpicking because we were all over them. And it was interesting. Now you really do see, it's taken me a few months, but now you really understand what Clement is trying to do. You really see his stamp on the team now and how we play. And it is absolutely relentless. The attacks are coming from both wings, are coming through the middle. Sometimes we go long, sometimes we go over the top, sometimes it's intricate passing. There was 2 or 3 times in the game where quick short passes, there was one for the second half with Cortez when he really should have scored. It was just an absolutely beautiful move. So not only was it a good performance, it's good to watch. It's enjoyable to watch. You come away, you're looking forward to the next game because Rangers are good to watch just now, Craig. And that's hugely important. To touch upon your point about the result, I'm like you, I was actually disappointed. I felt Ross County at home, you're not going to get a better chance to go top of the league. This is it. This is the game where you score 5 because you've got a team who are in poor form with no manager, who are not having a good season, and you've got them at home. What more do you want? So ultimately, I was disappointed that we didn't go top. I was disappointed we didn't score more goals. I felt that would have sent out a message, a stronger message than the one we did send out. As 2 opportunities we've had, you could probably excuse them against Aberdeen, but I did think that was an opportunity missed. However, I think we also have to be realistic. We have to look at where we were, look at where we are now. And, if any of you and I had been talking back after the St Mirren game in October, when Davis had stood in, and if you and I had been talking then, and I'd said to you, we'll be joint top by mid-February, and we'll have a starting forward line of Dessers, Matondo, and Ross McCausland, you would have laughed. You'd have said, well, that's not going to happen, is it? There's no way that's going to happen. And that's what happened on Wednesday night. That was our starting lineup. We're certainly joint top. We're playing wonderfully well at times. We're exciting to watch. I felt embarrassed. I texted some friends on Thursday morning and said, look, I'm embarrassed. I'm spoilt here because I'm moaning that we didn't score more goals. Had I given my right arm for a performance like that in September? So, I think we have to take these things as they should be taken and temper our disappointment.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I mean, see the point you made there about like sending out a message. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, I probably am. People have said it to me that many times, but I think it's a good old wee reverse psychology bit there, because I think the way that sort of Celtic act is that when they think that they're in the ascendancy, that's probably when we're actually at our strongest, because if you look at when we won the league a couple of years ago, the form that Celtic are in right now was very similar to the form that they were in at the start of the season. They weren't playing well, but they were getting the results. And when it came to that first Old Firm game of the season, we absolutely played them off the park. Goldson scored both goals, and from then on, they just collapsed. I think you're seeing pretty similar things here, where Celtic aren't playing very well, but they are getting results. But I said it to people the other day, how long can that last? You can't get away with it for the next 3 or 4 months, however long is left of the season. And I think, we are at the moment, we're just getting better and better and better. And Celtic's performances are at best stagnant. Ours are just keep going up and up and up. And I think the good thing about where we are is I genuinely think there's another level for us to hit. I think the next level is being more clinical. But the thing with that is, John, can you coach be more clinical? Because it looks as if the manager has made his stamp already, but how can we get into that sort of next stratosphere of being more clinical? Can the manager teach that to the players, or is that something that's just instinctive?
Well, I think I don't know if you can necessarily teach to be more clinical. I think forward players can hit runs. Their confidence is up. I've never been able to understand. I've never certainly been able to be able to explain it, but I've certainly never even understood it. Where a player just goes on a run and they just seem to score goals. Balls go in for them. Dessers is kind of getting there just now. He scored 2 goals the other night. He missed ones that in some cases were harder than what he scored. But he's a player that is in form just now compared to what he was. He is not going to be a guy who I think alone is going to win you the league. I don't think he's good enough to do that. But with the backup he's got, with the way we've changed our game, who knows? It is frustrating when you create that many chances and don't put more of them away. That is a worry. But it's not as big a worry as when you're not creating the chances, if that makes sense. If we weren't creating chances, I would be more concerned. We are creating chances. And like you say, there is a game where they just all go in. There's a game where you rack up a 6 or 7 because you're creating that many chances and it goes in. It wasn't last night. It wasn't on Wednesday night, but I'm okay with that just now. In terms of where both teams are, strangely, despite what we feel, since Clement came in, and I think you have to look at it at that point, but since Clement came in, we've outscored Celtic. We've outscored them. They've scored 41 goals and we've scored 43 in that period. Okay, so you have to look at that. There's no point in looking at the whole table just now and saying, our goal difference isn't as good. Historically, when Clement came in, we were sitting on a goal difference of 8 and they had a goal difference of 14. So we were way behind them. But since Clement's came in, we've scored 43 goals and they've scored 41. And we've only conceded 8 and they've conceded 13. So, you can't complain about that. If that continues, we don't need to worry about goal difference. It'll be in our favour. If that's the trajectory we're looking at. But, other factors will come into that. But in that same period, we've won 49 points and they've won 42. So there's no doubt, as far as I am concerned, that the momentum is with us. Our goal difference since Philip Clement came in is plus 35 and theirs is plus 29. So With nothing we can do about the time before he came in, Craig, I think we can just look at what we're doing just now. So, I like you, were frustrated with Dessers. I was frustrated with a few other players who, the number of chances we just couldn't put away. But overall, we are outscoring every other team in the league just now, and we're defending better than any other team in the league. If we can keep that up, then, we really can't complain. We don't need anyone else. But I'm a bit like you. I would have probably liked us to bring in another striker, someone a bit more clinical. But the stats don't lie, and that's what they say.
Yeah. Simple, isn't it? Outscore your opponents and defend better than them, and it only results in one thing, doesn't it?
It's absolutely simple, isn't it?
That's it, I know. I mean, some of the chances we had, like that, the Ross County goalie, I wanted to make a point about him because, everyone's waxing lyrical about him, rightfully so. I thought he was excellent. He probably had the game of his life. I think he's on loan from Fulham. But you've seen a few people saying that, we were just hitting the ball straight at them and stuff like that. Maybe one or two of the chances, but there's some other saves that he's made that are cracking, like the Cantwell one, the long range one where he tips it onto the bar. I think there's another one with Tab where he tips it onto the bar as well.
Yeah.
I think just sometimes you've got to give opposition players credit, and John, I think he had a cracking game, to be quite honest, on Wednesday night, and sometimes you just can't do anything about that.
Yeah, when people say, we had it right at him, that's then the keeper's in the right position. The keeper's doing his job. He's positioned himself correctly then. So I think you do have to give him some credit. I thought he was actually suspect for the first goal. I thought in the end he made Dessers' mind up by coming out. He basically gave Dessers one thing to do, and he did it very, very well. He almost let one in through his legs. But overall, you have to say he had a pretty good game. You really can't say anything else other than that. And we've seen that before. A goalkeeper just has a wonderful night. He's kept busy. Sometimes players rise to the occasion. Some players come to a ground like Ibrox with a big crowd there. Particularly a guy like him who's been playing down in England. He's come up to Ross County. Let's be frank, it's probably a bit of a come down for him. So I guess he probably gets a bit of a thrill when he comes to a ground like Ibrox. It's full, it's buzzing, and he gets a chance to put on a show. So I think our finishing could be better. Their goalkeeper had a really good game. I think both those things can be true when you've had 35 shots on goal. I think both of those things can be true. We should have scored 2 or 3 more than we did, and he would still have had a very good game.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. You touched earlier on about, signing a striker and, or not signing a striker, should I say, another one in January, as I think everyone did want. Somebody was saying to me on Wednesday night, if we had another striker, we'll just use Shanklin because he's the best possible example, right? So if that was Shanklin, he would have scored 4 or 5 goals tonight. I think that's a wee bit far because, number one, Shanklin, I don't think, scored 4 or 5 goals in a game in his life. He is good, right? But people can maybe be a wee bit over the bar with some of the things that they say sometimes. But also, as well, if you look at the possessions, sure, Dessers had a good few chances. Matondo's had a couple of chances. Campbell's had a chance that he should have scored. Lawrence had one where he tried to place it instead of just smashing it. Cortez had one that you mentioned earlier. Does another striker, whilst he might score those particular finishes, will he get into those positions in the first place? Will he show the same movement as a Cortez or a Campbell or a Matondo to get into those positions in the first place? I don't really think so. And I've tried to do some research on this, right? So what I've done is I've seen that the last 5 strikers that we have signed in January since we've been in the top league, right? So I've not counted outside that, and I'm including Silva here as well. So our last 5 have been Silva, Canberry, Defoe, David Healy, and El Hadj Diouf. So we need to go back to 2.
We've gone back a wee bit there.
Aye. Obviously there was years in between that where we were out of the top flight, but also there's been years where we haven't signed a striker in January. So from the time that we signed him until the end of the season, Diouf got 2 goals, Healy got 1 goal, Defoe got 8 goals, Canberry got 1 goal, Silva's got 2 goals so far. Now that's in all competitions as well. If you average that out, the average striker that Rangers sign in January, between them signing and the end of the season, will get 2.8 goals. So you're effectively looking for at least that, but obviously someone like Shankland would get more than that, but let's face it, people like that are only going to be available in that window. So that's kind of what you've been up against. And that's like, sort of recent history. Those extra goals, whilst okay, we would like a striker to score them, I think it's more imperative, not just for this season, but for the longer term, that they come from different positions in the park. And it's something that we hadn't seen enough of under Michael Beale, but we are seeing it now under Clement. And that was maybe the most frustrating thing for me. Not that Dessers, right, I mean, obviously Dessers missed his chances. He had maybe 4 or 5 chances, he scored 2. I mean, he scored 2 goals, I think, at the end of the day. That's what you want in your striker.
Yeah.
For me, it's the chances that Cantwell has, that Matondo has, that Lawrence has. These are the guys that need to be up in their numbers. And they have, to be fair to them, the last few weeks. But I think going forward, that's where the manager obviously feels that he can get the goals from, to spur us ahead and get us that extra. I mean, I don't know how many goals we would have been looking for another striker. I'd say at least 5, just to sort of share the load. But I think we should be able to get between 5 and 10 goals extra out of, the other guys on the pitch that the strikers aren't getting.
Yeah, I would agree entirely. Teams that win the league, they get goals from all over. Goals are scored from different positions. Our centre halves should be contributing more goals than the amount of corners we get. That's a whole other conversation. But, both our centre halves should be scoring 8-9 goals a season, considering the amount of corners and set pieces we have. In terms of other players scoring, I think a weakness in McCausland's game is that I don't think he gets into goal scoring chances often enough. He's very good at assists. I think his assist record isn't too bad. Perhaps not always at leading to a goal, but I think he's pretty good at cutting the ball back to people who should do better and that type of thing. But just probably doesn't get enough goal scoring opportunities himself. Matondo has started getting goal scoring opportunities. He's not always taking them, but he is getting the opportunities. He's creating them. Cantwell has now. Lawrence has as well. And obviously you spoke about Dessers there. The goals should come from all over. That is important, and I would agree entirely. And as I said, we're currently outscoring every other team in the league. So we have to be careful about how critical we are of them. Do I think that someone like Shankland, who is not only in sparkling form, but I think is a more clinical forward, do I think he would score more goals than Dessers in this Rangers team? Absolutely. Absolutely, I do. But I think the current board and I think the manager as well have accepted that we have a budget, and if a better forward player had been available in our budget, I think we would have signed one, but one wasn't, and so we've gone with what we've got, and you really can't knock what the manager's doing just now. If we pick up injuries, and we will, but if we pick up injuries to key players, we may rue having not brought somebody in. But we'll just have to see. I would agree that had we brought in Shankland, I think Shankland would have scored more goals than Dessers has. But we didn't. So we are where we are. And I've been very critical of Dessers since we signed him. Very critical. But he's scoring goals just now. He's still capable of missing, good chances. He's still capable of losing the ball when he should hold it up, win a free kick or lay it off. His all-round play has improved, but he's still not where I would expect the Rangers number 9 to be. But he has improved and he is scoring goals. And the 2 goals he scored the other night, one was a lovely finish, it really was. It was, a nice run, nice touch, nice finish. The second one, I'm not even sure if he headed it. I still can't tell if he headed it or if it battered off a defender or it hit a defender after his header. It was a flaff, it went in. They all count. They all give you the same amount of points. So I don't really care how he scores them as long as he keeps scoring them. And I think we've seen enough from Silva to know that there's definitely goals in him. Again, he isn't a prolific goal scorer. He's not an out-and-out goal scorer, but I think he's going to score goals in this Rangers team because we're going to create chances. And that's what you need to do. Players will score goals if we create more chances. And it's interesting because I keep hearing Clement mention them, but we keep hearing Roof's name. And, as ridiculous as it sounds, Roof's still the best striker at the club. He's frankly the best striker in the league if he could ever stay fit. Yeah. Might we, as Clement said today, he still might have a role to play for us. And that's interesting. A fit Roof, or even a Roof that can come off the bench for 30 minutes every week, even if we can never get a roof back who can play 90, but even if we get somebody to come off the bench for 30 minutes, makes a difference to our squad because he is a very, very good football player. And if we could get him back for the last couple of months of the season, who knows? Who knows? But let's wait and see. I'm positive about things. I'm positive about the direction we're going in. I'm positive about the number of goals we're scoring. I'm hoping that it doesn't come back and haunt us.
Let's hope not. But it's an interesting point that you made about Roof, and I actually thought about this earlier when the manager was talking about him, and you get a lot of people online, and that's just, it's probably just because it's Twitter, and like people like to have a competition over who can be the most outraged at things nowadays, right? But, it's like any time the manager mentions like Ryan Jack or Kamal Roof, it's just like, get him out, Sharon, should never be offered a new contract, stealing a wage, this, that, the next thing. You're right, okay, once you get over that, but somebody like Kamal Roof, right, the whole, when people were sort of going through the logic of, this is why we need another striker, it was like, I don't think we're going to see Danilo again for the rest of the season, right, okay. Silva's not an out-and-out number 9, right, okay. Dessers isn't good enough, right, okay, and we can't rely on Roof. Now, I suppose they are all decent enough points in their own right, but the one about Roof and not being able to rely on him, to me, like, it's not about being able to like play Kamal Roof twice a week in every single game, every minute of every game. You said it there, John. Even if you can bring him off the bench for 30 minutes, Kamal Roof, I checked it earlier, he's made, I think in total, he's played just over 6 full games this season. He's got 2 goals and an assist. So his numbers, he's going to get a goal contribution every couple of games, which is exactly where you want a sort of Rangers striker, a Rangers forward player to be. If we can get him fit for, 8 full games, even 10 full games across the rest of the season, that's an extra 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah.
So it's not about him being fit every single week. We kind of just accept that that's not going to happen as well. It's just about trying to make the best of this situation. And, he's only got a couple of months left in his contract. There's been rumours earlier about him not being offered one. It's like, well done, Hercule Poirot, for working that one out. It's quite obvious he's not going to get offered a new contract, right? But, by the way, what an asset you've got if he is fit and if you can get something out of him for the next 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. And for Roof's own, for his own mental well-being, far less the rest of his career, he needs to play some football before the end of the season, or he's going to struggle to get signed by another club. He's going to struggle to find a contract somewhere else. Whereas if he can get a couple of months where he makes a contribution to our team before the end of the season, there's always another club will take somebody. There's always another club will take that gamble. If he can get a club who don't have to play the volume and intensity of games that we do, Roof will definitely be an asset for them. And I'm sorry he will leave. I think he will. I don't think there's any doubt. I just can't see the club offering him another contract.
Aye, it's definitely not going to happen. But that's what I was saying. But we don't need him fit for a full 90 minutes or anything like that, or fit for every game for the rest of the season. You just need him in crucial moments. And when you think about his Rangers career, he scores crucial goals.
And when you see how Clement's playing just now, he almost rotates the entire front 4, let's call them. He almost rotates them during the game. You know now that at 65, 70 minutes, the wide guys are going to start being replaced because he hopes they've ran themselves into the ground. The fullbacks they're up against are tired, and he brings on 2 new wide guys who are coming in full of energy, who want to do something. He'll bring off the centre forward and he'll put on the other centre forward, who again, full of running. And that's clearly part of his plan. That's how we keep going right to the final whistle, because he's basically changed the entire front line for during the match. And what a wonderful position to be in. So a fit Roof, he only, like you say, he only needs him for 30 minutes. Can you come in? Can you do a job for 30 minutes? Absolutely perfect. That's what I need you for just now.
Mm-hmm. Spot on. In terms of Clement's playing style and stuff like that, I'm not one of these, like, I'll call them football snobs, right? The anoraks that love to, analyse everything and, tiki-taka, this, that, the next thing, blah, blah. I'm not really all about that, but, when you look at Clement's playing style, what I think I love about it the most is that it's kind of like suffocation. You're trying to just suffocate your opponent until they eventually just submit. And you've seen it we're getting quite a lot of late goals under him. You think of the Hearts game, the Cup final, game in Betis, even the draw at Pataudry. The other day, another late goal with Suter. We are going until the end. We seem to have a point where, like, for the first 10, 15 minutes, we'll go really fast, really hard. Then we might sort of drop off a wee bit. And then the last 10, 15 minutes and a half, we'll go again. And then at the start of the second half, normally we'll go again really hard. A wee drop off. And then the last sort of 10, 15 minutes of the game, we'll go really hard as well at the crucial moments of the game. And I mean, let's look at that game on Wednesday, right? We'll say it's not Ross County, we'll say it's like a half decent side, okay? If you look at when, like, the timing of the goals and stuff like that, it's almost like a perfect game plan. You score right at the start of the game, you then score in the stroke at half time, and then it's 2-1 for most of the rest of the game, and then you sum it up in the last minute of the game. I mean, in terms of that, I love it, and what I also love about Clemont's sort of playing style is it's interchangeable. He changes it depending on who the opponent is. Yeah. And that's something that you've seen managers up here in the past who, all right, they might have done well in Scotland, but as soon as it comes to European games, if you're playing the same way with a certain level of players, eventually you're going to get caught out. It happened with Airdrie last week against Hearts. Everyone's talking about the swashbuckling football that they're playing under Rhys McCabe, which is obviously great and stuff like that, but eventually, once you reach a certain team who play at a certain level, you're going to get undone, and that's what happened. But I think that's why also you're seeing against teams in Europe like Sparta Prague, like Real Betis away, why we're capable of putting in these performances, because the tactics change depending on who the opponent is. It's not one-dimensional.
Absolutely. Yes, the word you used there suffocates a wonderful description of how we play. I remember for not long after Gerrard came in, you realised that we were playing this pressing game, this closing the team down, and I felt that we did that really well for a couple of seasons, 3 seasons or so under Gerrard, and then we stopped doing it, and we changed our style a little bit. We didn't do quite the same pressing, and Clemont's brought that back, and I've not seen a stat on, I don't know if such a stat exists, but the amount of times we win the ball back from the opposition within 2 or 3 passes of them getting it, we've got it back. And we're on attack again, and it must be dispiriting for teams. And it's clearly something we work on. It's clearly something that he's told them to do, and it's wonderful to watch. I'm really pleased with how we're playing just now. Craig, you're muted, mate.
I know. The audience will be delighted with that. There was a moment on Wednesday night, I think about it, where Yilmaz was like running down the left, and Cantwell was looking for the ball, but then he kind of turned and took the safe option and passed it back. And Cantwell was absolutely raging with him. And I think that's good, because it's, it's passion. We're seeing it from the players are fighting. They're not fighting with each other, but they are fighting with each other. They're demanding the best. They're demanding standards. And the manager...
Dessers and Matondo, I thought they were going to come to blows at one moment, and I still couldn't quite figure out what it was about. He missed the chance, but I mean, they were proper angry with each other. I don't know if you saw that. No,
I never seen that. No, I would have liked to have seen that now that you've said it, but it's...
The one where Matondo closed down the defender, and the defender went to pass it back, and Dessers managed to kind of intercept it. And then the keeper managed to smother the shot. Matondo gave him pelters, and he then gave him pelters back, and the two of them were having a ding-dong as they were going back up the pitch. It was funny.
That's good. And actually, Darren Matondo is probably the person that you would least expect to be having a go at anybody when you look at him. So if even guys like him are raging at big guys like Dessers, let's face it. I mean, we're all slagging him off on here, right? About he's been this, that, the next thing. If you see him in the tour in the night out, you're saying, "Hello, Mr. Dessers, how are you?"
You're my favourite player, yeah.
To
be fair, Matondo's fast. I reckon he could outrun him, and he wouldn't catch him.
That's true, but it's good, and that's the type of passion that you want. And let's face it, teams that sort of carry on that drive and carry on that standards, they win at the end of the day. And it is. I mean, it's still overall, right? It's just, I think it's a really good moment to be a Rangers fan. Just even if the end of the season doesn't go away, which obviously we all really hope it does, we know now that we're reinvigorated, we're rejuvenated. We're going to have a manager going into next season, see what it's like when he gets even more of his own players in. And I think just for Scottish football in general, we've not seen a proper title race for, 2011 probably. I mean, most of them, I suppose maybe the year that we got to the Europa League final, there was more of a title race, but I think it became pretty apparent, like, sort of February time that Celtic were going to win it. And, last season was done and dusted in, like, October or something like that when you think about it. Obviously, when we won the league, we were unbeaten, and then the seasons before that. So I think what's really differentiating this season, apart from anything else, is it's kind of like who's going to be the best of two poor teams, if that kind of makes sense. Who's going to be the least bad out of Rangers and Celtic? But at the same time, that's kind of exciting because it's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. But I mean, I say that as well, unpredictable. We have been predictable since Clement came in. Like you've mentioned it there, look at the goals that we're scoring, look at the results that we're getting. I do genuinely think trajectory, look at the stats, look at everything that we've done since the manager came in. Celtic fans can, talk and laugh about Michael Bealsred and stuff like that as much as they want, but at the end of the day, he's not there anymore. We've got a new guy at the helm, and, the sooner they start realising it, probably the better for them. Because
I mean, he couldn't do much more than he's done. There's the one defeat, which hurt, and did show, I think, the difference between the two squads. I think it did show that Celtic probably still have a couple of players in their team who are capable of doing something special.
Yeah, making a difference in big games.
And I don't know if we did at that time, but we might now. So we'll see. Let's just see. I mean, let's focus into Johnstone. I think Clement's clever. He won't get ahead. He refuses to talk about goal difference. He refuses to talk about anything but the next game. And that's very wise. He's a shrewd operator, Clement, and he is right, because ultimately there's no point in us looking ahead at future games. There's 3 points to be won on Sunday, and that's all that matters. And whether we win it by 1 goal or 10 goals, it's still 3 points, and that's ultimately what we have to do. We just have to keep winning. Just keep winning, and then let's see where we are.
No, definitely. Before we touch on that game at St Johnstone, John, wanted to bring up a point that was made this week in the media about VAR in Scotland. Oh, we love it, don't we? IFAB have been going through all of the VAR decisions. There's been 785 VAR reviews in Scotland this year. So, and the recent sort of round of fixtures, and I don't mean like the last match day in the league. I just mean like they'll pick out a certain amount of games.
I think it's to do with the first. I think the first round's when you've played everybody once, and then the next round's when you've played everybody twice.
That's it. Yeah, I should have just let you do it, to be honest, because that was so simplified. I don't know why it took me about 10 minutes to say that. But yes, so the second round of fixtures, there was a total of 13 errors that were identified by IFAB, which I think is quite a lot anyway. But the concerning thing about that as well is it's up 3 based on the last round of fixtures. Now, one of them was the handball incident at the New Year game, which we won't dwell too into because it was ages ago and we're not like them, but they did say that a VAR review should have happened. Side note to that, they did also say that it would have been called back and been called offside, but the review still should have taken place. The other decision that went against Rangers was the John Sutter handball that led to the Kilmarnock penalty, and I think as well Cifuentes' red card against Dundee, I think actually got pulled up saying that should have been a red card, which I don't know, I was a wee bit shocked at that, but that's what IFAB say. So they're the lawmakers. So what they say goes. I mean, out of the
Sterling's red card.
No, it was Cifuentes. Right. Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, I think because that would have been the third time I played Aberdeen, that wouldn't be in this third round. Well, that would be in the third round.
So that would be in the official side. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I think that will probably be why. But I mean, I can only imagine that one will get pulled up as well, because that was never a red card in all the years. I actually think the Cifuentes one is more of a red card than the Sterling one. But But, I digress on that point. But 13 poor decisions, 3 of them going against Rangers. I mean, it's some conspiracy, isn't it? But I think for me, the biggest part of it is where are we with VAR in Scotland, because it's now getting to a point where it's genuinely becoming comical, but not in a good way. And it's like Crawford Allen, you've seen him making his statement the other day for his interviews, and it's almost as if he's like, fingers in his ears, this isn't happening, we'll just move on, keep going as normal. As I said earlier, John, the concerning thing about this is not only have there been 13 mistakes, right, which is bad enough, right, but it's 3 more than it was in the last round now. Surely it's all about getting those mistakes lower and lower and lower and lower until you get none.
I mean, I'm like you. I thought the whole point of VAR was there was no more mistakes. The point of VAR is they can see. Someone's looking and seeing and then saying, no, I'm going to look at that again. I'll look at that from a different angle. Referees making mistakes. And I've seen referees make some horrific mistakes. You think, how is it possible that you didn't see that? Or that you did see that the way you saw it? But they get one chance to see it. They get one chance to see it. And so, I think common sense tells you that sometimes they will make a mistake. That's just how it is, But VAR shouldn't be making any mistakes. They don't get one chance to see it. They get every chance to see it. They can see it from every angle. So there should be no mistakes in VAR. So 13 mistakes is I think, pretty damning. I don't think it matters anymore. I hate VAR. Okay, I don't like anything that changes football from the game that you play in the park. That the game kids can play should be the same game professionals play. It's just getting played at a different level. And so things like VAR, for me, take football away from what it's supposed to be. The beauty of football is its simplicity. The beauty of football is you need a ball and a couple of jackets, and you can have a game of football. And so everything that takes it away, everything that turns it into American football, I dislike. I also think that VAR has been introduced for a television audience. It's not been introduced for the people who are on the ground. It's not good for the people on the ground. It's not good for the players. The constant stopping, the what is happening? I have no idea what's happening. The fact that you can score a goal and not celebrate it properly because, somebody's toe was offside 5 minutes ago. I just dislike that aspect of it. However, it's here and I've accepted it really isn't going away anytime soon. And I just have to get on with it. But I also think that is an appalling and damning statistic. 13 mistakes across that period, I think is somebody somewhere needs to be looking at this and say, why are you making any mistakes? There should be no mistakes, literally no mistakes here. You've got all this technology at your fingertips. You seem to be allowed to take as long as you want over these incidents. There should be no mistakes. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm surprised he had the goal to front that. I'm surprised he didn't say no, we're making too many mistakes and we're working hard to cut them out, because there should be none.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the ones as well where like people say human error, right? But when you look at a referee, right, they are qualified to do that job. Okay, they're past the exams. They've been refereeing for years and years and years. Okay, they're not professional in Scotland, right? But they're still at an elite level. They're still being selected.
They're not full-time professional. But they are paid. Yeah. I mean, they're not amateurs.
Yeah. Oh, they're paid. Aye. Yeah. They're paid a lot of money to do it. Yeah. They can still be like a lawyer during the week and get like an extra few bob at the weekend as well. It's not a bad part-time gig. But it's one of the ones where like they are the professionals, these are the guys that are getting selected for, Champions League games, Europa League games, not the highest level of Champions League and Europa League games, but, they're still being allowed to do it by UEFA. They're getting a chance to look at it again. I think human error can occur when something happens, like a mistake once, but when it's happening time and time and time again, it's getting to a point where it's not human error, it's just incompetence at best and something else a lot worse. But I'm kind of getting sick of VR myself. I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm kind of just wanting it to be brought in for like offside and goal line technology. Although even now, offside's kind of, because I was actually under the impression that offside was like a yes or no, you're either offside or you're not, which is fair enough. But certainly in Scotland, it seems like even that's up for interpretation as well. So it's like, it's just typical Scottish football, isn't it? I mean, we brought VAR in, we brought in like the Poundland version of it.
Yeah. It's a Poundland league, unfortunately.
Aye, but that's what you get when you're paying certain people 400 grand a year to get absolutely nothing out of the game. But what can you do? But before we move on to the game on Sunday, John, just to give a shout out to another one of our sponsors, Football Prizes. They specialise in football competitions and match draws, and the latest Rangers prize is a signed shirt by various legends such as Haitley, Wood, Spackman, Stephen and Walters, and it also comes in a frame as well, so you don't need to worry about doing that. Each ticket costs £3.95 and there's a maximum of 149 entries. For details on how you can enter, you can visit our Twitter over at Gersnet Online or visit footballprizes.co.uk. That wouldn't be too bad a prize, and I might actually enter that myself, to be quite honest. I wouldn't mind sticking that in the war. But John, obviously we've got the game on Sunday against Johnstone. Manager done his press conference earlier today. Only really big injury news. Ravi Matondo's out. I think he said a slight muscle tear, and Leon Balogun's going to be back. Hopefully he's wearing a mask, because I think for a start that would look cool as anything, because De Niro looked amazing in his mask, but also enhanced De Niro's performance. It gave him special powers, so hopefully it will do it to Balogun as well.
Balogun couldn't look any more handsome. It's impossible to look any more handsome than Leon Balogun.
He's some guy. I liked his well. I don't know if you've seen the footage on the week where he was having
with the Nigeria, Mandy came in with the Ivory Coast top on. My son showed me that. Yeah, that was quite good.
Aye, brilliant. But I do like Big Balogun. I mean, in terms of changes, John, I think Cortez will come in for Matondo. Will we see Balogun start? I don't know. I think maybe it would be a bit harsh to drop Suter after his goal, although I still think he was at fault for that goal in the most part on Wednesday. But I do like Balogun. One thing I was going to ask, Balogun and Suter, I mean, I'm more on the side of Balogun now in terms of who is the first choice beside Goldson, but to be fair to Suter, he has done well recently, albeit after, in my opinion, that mistake anyway on Wednesday.
I don't think he was. I mean, I think Goldson was suspect. I don't that cross should never
he was
have been
suspect as well, but I just think Suter let it in behind him first, and then it's kind of like as soon as that happens.
I agree. It wasn't well defended by anybody. It's good to have Balogun available again, and I think I've done a few of these since Clement took over, and we say, well, we don't see many changes this weekend because of the great performance, in the last game. And he changes 5 players. Because, like you say, he changes players for the opposition. So they'll have looked at how St Johnstone play. Craig Levine, it'll be a back 6 with 4 sitting midfielders in front of them. It'll be on a farmer's field. It's not going to be a game for the purists. So, he will understand the kind of game he needs. So I suspect that he'll start. I think he'll start with Cortez as well, because I think, there's not too many other options there unless he puts Lawrence or Cantwell out on the right. But I don't think he'll do that, because I think they're both playing quite well in their current positions. So I think he'll start with Cortez out there. I think he'll start with McCausland. I think McCausland will keep his place. But I think he'll put Silva up front. I think Silva will start up front. But in terms of other positions, he could well replace Suter with Balogun. But if he didn't, it wouldn't concern me, because I think Suter's actually doing okay just now. I think he's playing well. Defence is playing well. The aberration against Ross County aside, we are playing quite well just now. We're not conceding many goals. I think really the only other decision is does Barisic come back in, or does Ridvan keep his position? And again, I'm at a loss. We discussed it on the pod the other night. Who's our first choice left back? I don't know. I don't know who's our first choice left back. I'm not sure the manager knows who our first choice left back is. I was not a fan of Ridvan, I have to say. I had pretty much written him off. I was not a fan of his. He's going a long way to proving me wrong. He's going a long way to joining a list of Rangers players of the past who have proven me wrong when I've written them off after 15 minutes of watching them. So Ridvan is playing well just now. I think it will depend a little bit on how he thinks St Johnstone will play and who he'll put out on that side. Barisic has a better cross. Barisic has a I think he is a better player putting the ball in than Ridvan, whereas Ridvan brings more energy, but possibly more direct running. So it'll be down to what he fancies. Don't be surprised if both get a game at some point. I think other than Butland and probably Tav, I think every other player's position is could well be changed if Clement feels it needs to be done.
Yeah, it's a good point about Barrett. I think you might bring in Barisic just to sort of try and combat the physicality of St Johnstone. And so you mentioned Craig Levine, you know exactly how he's going to play. I mean, the pitch is the best at St Johnstone as well. So I think that the midfield, I think, is going to be an interesting one because Tom Lawrence has been doing really well in a sort of slightly deeper role. But again, I just can't see him starting 2 games in a week. And he played quite a lot. He played about 70-75 minutes midweek as well. So I've got a feeling it might be time to give young Diamande a start, and hopefully he can do the business if he comes in. But I think that might be the only other change, maybe Diamande for Lawrence.
Yeah, maybe Raskin.
Raskin as well.
Raskin might come back in. Raskin hasn't had great form, I don't think, since the turn of the year. Since he's come back from injury, I don't think his form's been great, but possibly Raskin. Like you say, he clearly likes Diamande. I still haven't seen enough of him yet for me to form a full opinion. But I think Lundstrom will start. If Lundstrom's fit, he'll start. And I suspect he'll want a creative player there beside him rather than 2 sitting midfielders. So I think it'll be down to if Lawrence is fit, he'll play him, but wouldn't be surprised if he drops back. In which case, possibly Diamande, maybe Raskin. That would be my guess.
Mm-hmm. No, well, we'll see what happens with the starting line-up anyway, but I think we'll leave it there for tonight, guys. John, thanks very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Yeah.
No worries at all. Guys, we'll be back on Sunday. It'll be myself posting it again, doing a double shift this week. I'm hoping I'm getting double time for it. Joke's on me. So it'll be me, Alec Anderson, Scott Bradley on Sunday. I believe Alec Anderson will probably give his usual post-match on Sunday after the game as well. So you can look forward to a double dose for me this week and a double dose for him this week as well. But that's all for now, guys, and we'll see you on Sunday. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.